this is Uplift Stitches.
So this is Sunday, June 2nd. I almost wanted to say April all the time. I don't know why.
This is our second take of the first take. We lied and said that it was April.
Yes, it is actually June. I don't know why I want to go back to April because I'm not looking forward to the hot weather. So, but this is June 2nd, Flosstube number 10, right?
Number 10?
Number 10, double digits.
Ooh!
So it's been about a month since we recorded.
Yeah.
And we just have a little bit of life updates before we start talking.
Well, first we just want to say thank you and welcome.
Oh yes, thank you and welcome. If you're new to us, we're glad you stumbled on us and hope you enjoy what you're going to hear today. We're talking mostly about our cross stitch hobbies and our board game hobby.
Yeah.
You usually do our board games at the end, so if you're not interested in that, you can just watch the Flosstube stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, if you're returning, we are welcome. Glad to have you back. And
yeah, it's nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
We had so many wonderful comments on our last video. Thank you so much.
We did. It's just been wonderful seeing all the wonderful comments you've left.
Yeah, we've both really just been enjoying being a part of this community. Connecting with so many of you who share our love of these hobbies.
Yeah, so thank you and welcome back, and hopefully you'll enjoy what you're seeing as well today.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll do a little bit of life update before we dive into our whips and stuff.
Yeah, we had a good May.
We did have a pretty good May. It was pretty busy, I think.
Yeah, it was.
You know, it's been months since we last recorded, so I think a lot of people have already talked about the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
But we did see it up here as well, where we are, and
yeah.
I have a couple pictures we can.
Yeah, if you're new here, we live in Missouri.
Yeah, we live in Missouri, and I did get a couple decent pictures.
Yeah. So Michael had gone to bed.
I had gone to bed, yes.
And I got on Facebook and saw some people posting, and I was like, well, this person lives an hour south of us, so if they can see it,
then we should be able to.
We
had no idea what was going on.
No. Yeah, because one of my friends who lives in the city of St. Louis, like in the heart of the city, had posted a picture, and I was like...
She's like, Mike, you're not going to bed yet.
No. I dragged him outside.
Yeah, so fortunately we live in the country, and I was a little underdressed. Oh,
He was dressed.
I had dressed, but I didn't. I was like down to my undershirt and that, and I was like, it's dark, nobody's out here, I'm going to go look. So, because I was tired. And we went out and we, sure enough, saw it. We have a couple photos.
Yeah, it wasn't super bright or vibrant.
No.
But there was a little bit of a purple haze.
And the camera captured it pretty well.
Yeah, the camera captured it well.
So yeah, that was exciting, unexpected, and a fun adventure.
Yep.
I think that was before the cicadas got really more
that
more
was
prominent
2
out
weeks
here.
ago.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago the cicadas emerged.
And yeah, they haven't really bothered us, but they've been around.
No, they're kind of loud in the afternoon. They've definitely quieted down from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago was definitely the loudest.
Yeah, so they're not quite as loud, but they're definitely still prevalent. When I'm out there weeding, some of them are out there watching me weed.
If you've watched us before, you know we have a line of trees right behind our house, and that's where they primarily like to be, is in the trees. So
that happened towards the beginning of the month. We had Mother's Day in there as well.
Yeah, Mother's Day. If you're a mother or you do mothering, we hope you had a wonderful day.
Most definitely. We got to spend time with both our mothers.
Yeah, we spent some time cross-stitching with my mom.
With your mom.
We watched a bunch of Flosstubes together.
And we went to my mom's, went to Waffle House.
She had hankering for waffles.
So we're like, we're going to Waffle House. There's Waffle House down the street from her. And
we had a nice day visiting.
We had a nice day visiting. Didn't really do anything besides visit mostly. I did a few chores for her, but just a good time visiting with her and my brother and his wife. So.
We also had some friends over.
We did. We had some friends over for dinner.
We had a little barbecue. We are taking a vacation with them, so we took some time kind of preparing for that, talking about...
Because they're on the same vacation as we are.
Yeah.
So, did a little planning on that. Which
also, we haven't gotten together with them since the fall.
Yeah, we haven't talked.
I mean, you've gotten together.
I've gotten together with her.
Yeah.
But we usually meet once a month for like dinner, just to make sure we keep in contact. But we hadn't seen him because he was going to school to do a certificate in like computer programming or something. Right. So he was just super busy, and so it was nice to catch up.
It was really nice to catch up.
And so that was nice. Let's see what else was going on here. I was really busy at work. I was preparing for workshops.
Oh, yeah. You had some workshops.
Had a lot of workshops. I gave workshops to faculty to help them improve.
You actually had to go in.
I actually had to go onto the campus 3 days out for like that week. So it It was unusual driving in. I have to say I've gotten used to the remote living environment. So, so there was that, and then
But there were also some of your coworkers in town
yeah,
who also work remotely. So you guys
so
got together a few
they were
times.
in, and one of our coworkers actually lives in Washington State, so he was actually in town as well. So it was kind of it's kind of nice to see everybody on camp in person, but also good to be back to remote. And then the end of the month, we got together with my brother just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we celebrated his birthday.
He
wanted to go to downtown St. Charles.
Yeah,
which is a really cute historic area.
It's like a historic area because it was St. Charles was the first capital, and there's a lot of like old kind of buildings.
It's like a cobblestone street and a lot of old buildings,
antique shops, and there's a lot of fun stuff to see.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants.
We went to get ice cream down there.
Yeah, there's a few ice cream shops. We went to one that's like kind of like a old soda fountain.
Old soda fountain, like 50s, kind of a diner ice cream shop, and we went to this British store where I got a little orange marmalade from English marmalade. So it was a fun time.
And it's a special area to us because that's where we got married.
It was. We got married down the street from that, so it was really nice to be there.
Yeah.
And then we went back and visited.
He had received a game for his birthday.
He had received an old game called Hero Quest, which if you've played RPGs in the past, it's similar, a very light version of it that I grew up playing with him, and so we played a round of that with his
and their friend came over who was basically like their third brother.
Yeah,
he lived down the street.
Mark and him knew each other since they were 5, and we've just been he's been part of the family ever since. And so we all we played games and visited with Mom, and it was a good birthday.
It was a lot of fun.
It really was. So that was fun. So I think that's everything we've been up to.
We had a wonderful month. We hope that you had the best month that you could.
Yep. And I guess we can go ahead and dive into our stitching stuff.
Yeah. That's why you're here, right?
That is why you're here. So we don't have any full finish.
Yes, I do.
You have a full finish? Oh, that's right. I forgot about
this. This is real exciting. I'm so excited to show this to you. So yesterday we were celebrating Michael's brother's birthday, so I didn't get to attend the fun reveal party.
That's right.
I mean, it's good. It was where I was where I was supposed to be. But I missed out on seeing all of the wonderful finishes.
Yeah.
But I was a part of Erin and Amity, the Hathaway Stitchers' secret stitch along. They picked a pattern, the Garden of Zig by Ink Circles, and they said anyone can join, stitch this pattern, but don't use the called for floss or fabric, and don't show anyone. And let's all just have fun stitching and letting our creative juices flow. And it was such a fun experience and experiment for me to play with colors and to stitch.
Yeah, and I got to see it behind the scenes because it didn't matter if I saw
He did. So I've seen people posting on Instagram, so I'm guessing it's okay for me to share it on Flosstube. The Hathaway Stitchers are going to be posting a Flosstube extra. So if you want to see a whole bunch of these finishes, please go check that out. I've been seeing some people's on Instagram, and they're just beautiful.
Yeah.
I am so inspired by what everyone was doing, and it was just such a wonderful group to kind of get to know and spend time with.
It's making me almost want to do the next one if I have time.
It sounds like they might do one later in the year, so if that's something you're interested in, keep an ear and an eye out for that. But I finished.
She's full of finish. I didn't realize
fully
that.
Finished, yes. My Garden of Zig, and here it is.
It looks beautiful. It's just stunning, really.
Yeah. So I stitched mine on a 32 count Periwinkle Bold by Colour&Cotton. And I mentioned this a little bit in the video that I sent to the Hathaway Stitchers for their reveal party. But Colour&Cotton is our LNS. And I'm so inspired. Every time I go in there, they have a wall of all of their flosses. And that's okay, I got it.
Okay, just going to help you.
Yeah. They have this beautiful rainbow wall of all of their flosses, and it's always really just inspiring to me to see all those bright colors together. I mean, even just walking in the craft store and seeing, all the yarn together or all of the DMC flosses together, like that's just always an exciting...
It's a great store.
An exciting thing for me in a crafty space to see colors. But especially Colour&Cotton being our LNS, that's always a fun experience. So I usually end up buying a couple of skeins that I don't have any plans for. Also, even before they had a brick and mortar store and I would purchase fabric online, I would throw a couple skeins in. And so all of these skeins have kind of been accumulating in my closet without a plan or a purpose or a project to use them on. So I kind of thought, well, this is a great opportunity to use some of those flosses. So I used 29 different Colour&Cotton flosses in this project. And I'm going to insert a picture because I made a little graphic of the names of all of the colors that I used, if it's something that you're interested in. Now, this is an assortment of colors that I've collected over the last 4 years. So some of them probably don't exist anymore. I know some of them were limited edition colors. But yeah, it's just something that I've collected over time. So here is my big floss ring of beautiful colors. They're all just so vibrant and bright, and yeah, I love it. I kind of wanted to go for a rainbow feel. That was an idea that I had early on because I do like rainbows. They make me happy. Yeah, and I was having a hard time envisioning how I was going to do it. So I used a paper pattern and I made a photocopy of it. And one afternoon I took out some colored pencils and spent some time kind of coloring it in just so I could get a better idea of if it was an idea that was going to turn out as well as the idea that I had in my head. And I think it did.
Yeah, I never had any doubts you were going to do great.
Yeah, I did. Need a few pep talks from Michael.
She had a few days where she second guessed things, and I was like,
yes,
you're doing great.
And there were some things down here where I had stitched the top part, and then I stitched the bottom part, and then I did the rainbow in the middle without thinking about the fact that I was going to do a rainbow in the middle. So some of the colors that I had down here were right next to colors that I had. So I had to kind of rip things out and redo it. But I'm so excited and pleased with how this turned out. I loved every stitch of this project. It was such a nice project to work on. And it was just a really fun experience to play with colors and use all of these colors that I've had for a while that have been waiting for a project.
They found their home.
So thank you so much, Erin and Amity, for hosting. Thank you so much to everyone who's been a part of this. It was just such a fun experience. And now everyone can see it. So that was my big, fun, exciting finish of the month.
And I didn't even realize you fully finished.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I put it in a frame from Michael's, an 9x12 frame. Did I say I stitched this on 32 count?
You did.
And I used 2 threads, 2/2. Yeah. So the frame is 9x12. I got it from Michael's, and I just kind of painter's taped it in because I'm not sure if this is going to be its permanent home. But yeah, I just pinned it on foam board so that if I decide I wanted to finish it a different way later on, I can. Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I was surprised by that too.
Were you?
I knew you finished the project. I didn't know you fully finished it.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. I do not have any full finishes, so
no,
nothing to show on that. I don't have any finishes either, for that matter.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, yeah, I guess not.
No, I mean I finished up to a point, but I'm in the middle of SALs mostly. So the finish for now, basically. Do you have any other finishes or no?
That was it.
That was it. Okay. And then as we get into whips, I think one thing of note is that you used May to do monogamous May, right?
Yeah. So I kind of decided that I was going to do a monogamous May. I ended up spending a large portion of the month on Garden of Zig because I had started it like right before we filmed last time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I spent 3 solid weeks only working on that, which was a very monogamous experience.
It was.
And then once I finished that, I worked only on 2 projects the rest of the month.
Yeah. So it was not her usual number of whips, but it was a fun month, so.
It was a good experience. I felt like I kind of wanted to, like, I'm a person who's just all over the place a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that includes my stitching. So it was hard sometimes to not work on multiple things or to flop around or.
I understand that completely. I mean, as somebody who came from being a monogamous stitcher for such a long time, I didn't feel the need to be monogamous. Yeah. But I understand the feeling to want to stitch on more stuff.
Yeah.
I always jump around throughout the whole day. Like I'll stitch on 2 or 3 different projects or 4 sometimes. So So I guess we can go ahead and get into whips. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You go ahead and start because you have 3 things.
I have 3 things.
And I have 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have more things than whips.
Well, I finished the one.
You did finish the one. That's just unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start. Let's see. This is my my Wandering in Middle Earth SAL by Cunning Cross Stitch. I've been showing this for a while, and this was essentially my second start because I had to restart it. For your new, I had a little snafu with the color, the size of the fabric, and it wasn't going to be nearly big enough, so I had to restart. So I'm not quite caught up to where they are. They're in chapter 3, which I think the next one comes out in July. But I'm stitching this one on 20 count Rustica Oatmeal, Aida by Zweigart, and I'm doing it 1/1 and with mostly the called fors, although I didn't switch a couple things out here.
Well, it's a pattern that's full of customized.
It's full of customized pieces anyway, so you get to choose how your hobbit haul is going to look, and then the chapters have their own choices of things you can stitch. So I'll go ahead and hold this up. I'm going to try to do a better job kind of showcasing. So this is where I am right now. I actually have finished the, is it good? Come down, like there.
There you go.
So I've actually finished the actual hobbit hole itself, including the back stitching, which took me a bit of doing. But the 2 windows were basically empty with just the little frame in there, and I decided I wanted there to be lights on. So I used some etoile to kind of create the light shining out effect.
Yeah, I'm not sure if our friends can see the sparkle, but there is some sparkle in the,
so there's some sparkle.
windows.
Let's see if I can kind of get the sparkle. But so that was fun, and the little lantern also has a little of that in there as well because it's on as well. And the door I changed to the door design I used actually called for like a brown, and I changed it to yellow. I originally changed it to green, a dark green inspired by Bilbo.
It was the wrong green.
It didn't work. It just didn't work. So I decided, because the dark green and the metal work just didn't, you couldn't see the metal work. So I changed it to yellow, and I think that worked out really well. And I've just started on the little corner embellishment for the frame. And I realized last night that or it was the night before.
It was the night before. We didn't do any stitching yesterday.
No, we got home too late. But I am going to have to frog a lot of that because I started when I was tired and I made a mistake, and then that mistake magnified everything else. And so I'm going to have to redo that. But so I think this one is coming along pretty well. When I finish that corner, then I'll be able to work on chapter number 1. So that's kind of exciting. There is a bottom part of the frame, but I'm going to wait till I get some of the chapters in so I can count easier down to that. Yeah. So it's going to really, I'm really happy with the way the hobbit hole looks. So that is my hobbit hole project. That is my first whip. Do you want to talk about yours? Next one?
So my focus piece for the Monogamous May was Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut.
That's that huge project, right?
Yes. So yeah, and I think I had mentioned last time that I had started kind of working on this because my parents were over for a weekend. And so I didn't want to stitch on Garden of Zig while they were here. So I had started working on bringing the border down. And unfortunately, I didn't get as much time on this month as I had originally hoped, just because Garden of Zig took me so much longer. And also, I stitched less this month.
Yeah, probably. I would say that's probably accurate.
Yeah, because I don't think I did any stitching during the day, except maybe 3 or 4 days in the whole month.
Yeah, I think you mostly stitched in the evenings with me a lot.
Yeah. So, but I did make progress, and I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
And here's where I'm at. Oh, I'll bring it way back here so you can see everything I did. Yeah, so I did finish bringing the border down. I think I had most of the green done. So I came back in and I worked on filling in all of the flowers that are along this border, all the way to the bottom. And then I also had done something similar along the top. So I made it a little bit halfway. By the time I was getting into here, I was just getting tired of the border. Which is part of why I wanted to work on focusing on the border, because I know if I saved it till later, it would take me forever because I would get tired of it. But yeah, so I did a whole bunch of border. And then I came into this row of motifs in here and started working on that. I had already finished this top oval border, and then I started working on these motifs this last week.
looking really nice.
It is looking nice. I'm stitching this on a 36 count Willow by Colour&Cotton, and I'm using all of the called for and suggested DMC threads. Yeah. So I'm pleased with how this is working. I think tonight I'm going to continue on this just to finish this motif so that it's not...
Before moving on to
not halfway finished. Yeah. Yeah. And there's also 2 small things right above this flower that I'll probably do tonight, and then I'll be ready to put this away for a little while and work on other things. But yeah, it was a good experience. I'm loving how this is looking. I love the colors. I think this is going to look great in our house.
Yeah.
When it's finished.
Any idea where you want to hang it or
no.
put it? Just curious.
No, but yes, I'm enjoying it.
That's good. I'm glad. All right. Let's see. My next project. This one I'm actually caught up to pretty much to where they are on it, which is kind of, it was a big journey to kind of get there, but because I started this one really a lot later. This was my my Stardew Valley SAL, which is by J. Marie of J. Marie Does Crafts. This is a Facebook stitch along, so you can get. We can put we'll put the link down below if you're interested in this one. And I'm stitching this on 18 count Rustico Oatmeal Aida by Zweigart, and I'm doing it 1/1. And most of the colors are called fors. I did change the pond to an étoile, and I added my own. If you're new here, I created my own design because
in our previous video, number 9, he talked about.
I talked about creating the pattern because they didn't have my favorite festival from the game, so I was like, I wanted to include that, and I'm actually have ideas that I might do another design for that festival just as practice. I'm working on a D&D SAL design. I want to get more practice designing stuff since I don't have any. So I'll go ahead and try to get this as close as I can. Back a little bit. I can pan up, but I don't want to showcase. So this is where I am now. Then the next motif hasn't been released yet. I think it's gonna be released next week, and that'll go down below on the second row. But I'm starting doing the fill-in work, which is looking really good. The blue pond down there is the étoile. I don't know if you can see the sparkle, but that's where I made the adjustment. And then my the one I created is over here, if you're curious. And if you've played the game, I'm sure you'll recognize that. But it's basically a early fall festival where you go down to the ocean and see these jellyfish coming in, which is I don't know, I just really like it for some reason. I don't even know why. So yeah, this one's been a lot of fun to stitch. There's a nice little dog. As soon as I get
I think the motifs you did this time were the greenhouse up here.
Oh yeah, the new one.
Mine.
And
I think you had started on the hats.
I had started on
finished it last
I know
time.
I had started the hats. Yeah. And the mine is a new one, and then this one up here, which is the greenhouse.
And then you've been working a lot on the fill-in.
I've been doing a lot of work on the fill-in. There's a lot of fill-in.
That's been kind of your late night, early morning.
It's easy because it's just fill, so if I'm tired, I don't make mistakes. So I think there's like 5,000 stitches of it. So yeah. I'm making decent progress, so I'm really pretty pleased with the way this is turning out. It makes me want to play the game every time I stitch it, and
we still haven't put up the...
We're waiting for the update on the console, because we played on a PlayStation, and it's still not out yet. And the last update was, it's coming, I'm working on it. So I'm sure I'll be excited about this, and at some point December, hopefully it'll drop. She also plays, so she'll probably be excited.
Not as much as you.
Not as much as me, but I know you've been getting the edge. So that was my second project that I've been working on. And your last project? Yeah,
so the last thing that I worked on was something that I had planned to work on, which is Azaad the Lost Unicorn from Miriam at Marroomy Designs. My goal for the month was to outline Azaad so that I can bring him on vacation with me next month and do all the fun fill-in. And that is what I did. So here's Azaad. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's awesome. I love the fabric for that too.
Yeah, I'm stitching this on a 20 count Smack the Jellyfish by Live&DyeLA. And I'm using all of the called for threads. Yeah, so I did that fill-in. I think I told Miriam in a comment or something that I wanted Azaad to be on a fabric that looked like he was flying through the universe.
And he is.
And it totally is.
Yeah, this is the perfect fabric for it.
Yeah, and there's like a star up here, which is going to was just kind of why I put this lighter portion up here. I haven't done the border yet because I think that's going to be easy-ish to do, or it might be something I do when we get home from our trip. Yeah, but I'm just loving how this is looking on this fabric.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
the
feeling we get on the trip.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and then I spent a little bit of time one afternoon this week kind of figuring out how I'm going to bring the flosses for this on our trip. So here's the flosses. So I didn't want to bring all of this because a lot of the colors that are used in this project are, there's patterns within Azaad's wings. So it's really only, I think they're between like 40 and 80 stitches of each of these colors that are in here. So I didn't want to bring up the whole
drop.
The whole droplet just for that many because I'm stitching this with one thread on the 20 count. So I made I took a index card and I cut it in half and layered it, so there's two, and then I put packing tape around it and I punched holes, and then I just grabbed one length of each of these colors so that, because I know that that's all I'm going to need for this, so that I can bring this instead of this.
That'll travel a lot better.
Yeah, I think it'll travel a lot better. It'll be easy for me to use on the plane, because that's when I'm planning on stitching Azaad in the sky, because isn't that where you should stitch a unicorn?
I think so.
In the sky while you're flying over the country.
You'll certainly have a long enough flight to do so.
Yeah, so there's that. And then I put some of the white on here. Again, so that's just all together on one thing. And then there is some étoiles, which I put on a little ring, because those use more than these colors do. So yeah, does my look. Ready for travel. Azaad is ready to fly in the sky with me.
That's exciting.
Yes. And I love it. I think it's a beautiful pattern. Miriam has a video where she talks about the meaning and importance of this for her. And I would recommend you to go watch that video. I rewatched it again this week as I was starting it, just to kind of remind myself and my heart of why I'm doing this. Yeah. So thank you, Miriam. And I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll move on to my last project.
Yeah.
So this is one I hadn't started. I mentioned the last video, but I hadn't started. But because I had bought, I decided to change the colors of it. There are some people who are stitching this with the actual colors called for. I think Jen Fiberweb is stitching it in the actual called fors. But I decided to go with kind of a different palette, so I guess I can just hold three of them. So these are the colors I chose. One is called Dutch Tulip, which is this one. Ooh, kind of thread. These are all Colour&Cotton. My first time using Colour&Cotton. First time using something that's not DMC. This is called Frightened Night. Oh, let's see. Probably better if I show.
Yeah.
And then this one is called Waltz. So, and when I was considering what colors I used the Adobe. There's a color blender option you can use, and I was trying to figure out a color scheme to fit my idea of what fairy stories are, because the original colors are really beautiful, but they kind of evoke a more of a dark, dangerous feel with the black and the reds and the orange. And for me, fairy tales were more magical and mysterious than dark. Partly comes from my Tolkien studies. It's like that's kind of his view. They're perilous, but they're more like magical, and going into them, it's kind of more of a wonderful experience in the sense of wonder, like full of wonder. So I was like, well, I want something that's kind of more of a nature feel. And the dark, these kind of brighter colors are more of the kind of magical elements, and it also kind of evokes the fall feel for me, which is my favorite time of year. So this is the Forest Fairy Tale SAL, and I'm stitching this one on 20 count California Sage Aida by Live&DyeLA, and I'm doing it 1/1. As I said, I already mentioned the substitutes. So this is as far as it is, and the top one over here on the top corner is the first motif that got released, and that is, of course, Little Red Riding Hood with the wolf. And then down the border is just down below. It's got some mushrooms and a bird and and like a little, is that a squirrel or a mouse, I think. So it's turning out really well. I'm really pleased with the way this is going. I know I actually first heard about this company through the runner stitcher, Andrew. And I just fell in love with the idea of the project. This is a kind of a mystery SAL, so you don't really know what the whole patterns look like. Now I can get a little close up of that, so I'm sure people are more curious about the actual motif. But it's looking really good. I'm really pleased with the kind of variegation on the green. I think that
and this is really your first time working with a variegated
this
floss?
is, which I had to ask Mel some advice on how to stitch with variegation because I've never done it. So I'm actually doing it one stitch at a time, which I usually do. What was the other style I usually do?
I mean,
it's kind of called
the one where you do one leg all the way across
and then
the
all
other
the
leg all the way
back.
across.
That's what I usually do because with DMC it doesn't matter as much, but variegation it does matter how the color lays. And I've been stitching with it really the long threads because I want to keep control of the way the variation lays. So I'm pretty pleased with this one. I think this one is turning out really well. They do have a hashtag. It's a hashtag Forest Fairy SAL, which we'll add to our description as well. But this one is one of the ones I was really excited about, and I think I've also discovered when I started this one that 3 is my limit on SALs. I had all these plans at the beginning of the year for different projects, and I discovered SALs.
Yeah.
And so I'm realizing, well, I'm not going to get some of those plans done, but I'm having a good time, and I'll just keep that in mind when I plan for the future that I might be doing 2 or 3 SALs at a time, just because I enjoy them. I've really enjoyed a lot. I like the mystery element. I mean, I probably will be careful which SALs I join, mystery SALs I join, because I want to make sure I really love it, but I'm comfortable with the not knowing aspect of it. So so that is what my 3 big projects I've been working on. I do have one other whip that I can't show.
Oh yeah, he had a start.
I had a start, and it's for a stitching kindness that I'm doing for somebody, for a friend. So I know they watch this channel, so I can't show it yet. But I'm going to when it's finished, I'm going to take a picture and maybe a little short video that I can insert at some point when I'm sure the person has it. So so I did have a 4th project start, but I can't show it. So I think that was all my actual whips that I can show right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's it.
That's it. Let me get this kind of out a little bit so we can kind of figure out. Okay, so what do we do? What do we have now?
Well, usually next we talk about our purchases.
Okay, we do have.
Which I'll show my small purchase first.
Okay.
And then we can go into your big purchase.
We go to my big purchase. Yes, I have a big purchase.
So one of the things that I picked up this month is the newest Just Cross Stitch magazine. I am planning on stitching. There's let me find it. So I am planning on doing the Carolyn Manning Hummingbird Garden piece, which is only being released in this magazine. So I picked this up so I can have the second part of this. I think I'm going to start this next year in May and do Manning May with this. That's an idea. I might start it on my birthday. I might start it just because. I don't know. But yes, so I picked this up so I can have that next piece. And I think we both like this tent.
I love
one
the
of us
one.
is going to stitch this. I don't know who,
I
don't know
we
when.
both love camping, and that's just a perfect one.
It's so pretty. So we love this. There's some other cute ones in here.
It's a little big to take on the trip, so I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I thought about it. Was like, that's way too big.
Yeah.
So I have a smaller project for that.
Yep.
That's an awesome project.
So I picked that up. That was my small purchase.
That was your small purchase. Do you have any other small purchase?
Well, it's something that we're going to talk about after we talk about your big purchase.
Oh yeah, my big purchase. Okay, so I know last month's video I mentioned needing an upgrade to my floss storage.
We sort of decided that it was time to do an investment.
I needed to make an investment because my projects were getting kind of out of control the way they were organized.
It just wasn't functioning.
You know, I have the Stardew Valley SAL and a few other SALs, and I've had them in bags.
Right. He's been using Ziploc bags.
And there was this basically a quart-sized bag just jammed full of my floss for my...
So every time it's time to find a color.
I had to dump it out. I mean...
And is it in this bag or is it still in this other project? And
the list she helped me make...
We had made a spreadsheet.
Some.
Yes.
Because then I could look which project it was in. But some projects share multiple the same color, and it just became unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have been watching Chris at Cunning Cross Stitch.
And he mentioned his these bobbins he had purchased,
Mm-hmm.
these printed bobbins on Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really a beautiful product. So I went and looked at the one he had listed, and unfortunately, when I went and looked, they said they had stopped taking orders for the year.
Oh.
And because I guess they had a lot of orders, and they were going to need to get caught up. So I was like, well, okay, I'm sure there's similar ones, and I went to spent some time looking at different Etsy shops that had some.
And you had sent Chris a few emails just to get clarification on the size of...
I got clarification on size because some of the ones I saw were just slightly bigger than I thought they probably were.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned they needed to be a specific size.
Mm-hmm.
So I got clear. He was really kind in helping me get clarification on which size fit the box that he recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a shop that has that called Art Inspire. Margarita is the person's name. She's
which we'll link below.
We'll link below. She's based out of the UK, or not UK, the Ukraine. And I guess I can go ahead and grab and show them up what it looks like, because I'm sure they're wondering. This is the actual container.
Which you got on Amazon.
Which I got on Amazon. This one really wasn't that expensive. And it is double-sided. Mm-hmm. So on the one side I have all my projects, and the other side I have the actual floss that's not in projects.
I'm gonna open it up so that they can see without the glare.
I was actually just thinking I need to do that.
Yeah.
So you can see how they're organized, and they all have the printed labels. And that is called Live Photo. Pictures of the thread they put on as a background for each of them. So it makes it real easy to see very quickly what the colors are, to read the colors. And they are this kind of thin, this is a little bit bigger one. This is kind of like what they look like. They're this thin,
probably
acrylic with the printout on the top. These are actually a lot better than the generic ones you buy that you use that aren't printed, because they actually hold the thread a little bit tighter. So I'm really happy. This is the 4.
Do you have one that you can show here? Hold on.
I'll just
grab them.
I can grab some that are not bobbinated already.
We put aside the ones that we hadn't used.
Yeah, I put aside the ones that I haven't used into my old containers. So this is the actual size, and this is the bigger size that they typically sold. She was really kind of being able to work with me on getting the size that I needed for this case. You know, they called for 4.0 millimeters.
I don't know.
40 millimeters, and this is 3.5 essentially. So this is a lot smaller than that. But the size works really well, and I haven't had any issue with the size difference. So she was worked with me on getting the size correct. She actually sent me some other things that I'll show in a second, but these have been really a lifesaver. Just getting this transfer sheet. Mel helped me transferring a lot of the threads from the old bobbins to the new bobbins.
I had been in the mood to watch the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, so I put that on when Michael went to bed, and throughout the week I just bobbinated.
It was a huge help. So I got, like I said, I got one side. I've got all of his projects, all of my projects, and the other side
so that in the evening he can just open this up, it's all right here. He doesn't have to go searching through different other projects.
And I'm gonna add little labels to where the projects are.
They're in numerical order, so he can just go for the number.
Yeah, it's gonna make my work so much easier.
I think it's gonna make stitching more enjoyable. I mean, not that you don't enjoy stitching, but I think it's gonna make it a more enjoyable.
Yes, it's a worthwhile investment. They are a little bit pricier, as Chris mentioned. I mean, whether you get from the other seller or the one I end up going with, they're a little pricey, but it's an investment in the long term, and it's going to make my life much easier. Like I said, I have the other ones that I'm storing. The ones aren't used yet. I end up getting those colors, they'll transition, and if I need to, I could always transition my projects into the other.
Yes,
cases.
Originally we had thought about maybe using a small case for some of the projects, like the Stardew Valley project uses a lot of colors. Yeah. But we ended up deciding that it would just be easier to put them all on one side of the container.
So it was a little investment, but I think it's worthwhile. And the shop is really great. She was, like I said, she was really willing to work with me on the sizes, but they have a lot of other products too on there. She sent me a couple, like this is a wooden floss drop that she did. She sent me as an example, and then this is a wooden bobbin that they also do. This one's got a little flamingo, I think, if you can tell. Yeah, there it is. And then there's this was this little heart that she sent me, which is And they have thinner ones as well, and different shapes. This one's got a little heart. And in addition to DMC, and all the different variants of DMC, She also has sets for Anchor Floss, Classic Colorworks, Weeks Dye Works, and then the Dimension kits. She has bobbins for those.
That's cool.
Which I was surprised. And she also does floss drops on there. There's some carved wooden frames which are really beautiful, and then she has a number of cross stitch patterns too, which I haven't looked as much through yet, because I'm trying not to buy stuff.
And it got here relatively quickly.
Yeah,
considering it came overseas.
It came all in like a wooden case to help protect it, and it was really well wrapped. So it was really I was really happy with the shop. So I will list all of that information down below if you're interested. But I was really happy with this purchase. It's definitely changing my ability to stitch more pleasantly in the evenings.
Yeah.
So that was my big purchase probably for the year, but I think it was worth it. So
yeah, I'm gonna
make sure it's closed. Yeah. That was my big purchase. I think I spent more than I intended.
But it's an investment.
This year,
I mean, this is going to be a long-term.
It's a worthwhile
solution.
I mean, if you're a bobbinator, it's definitely a worthwhile investment to get the other, because then I'd also don't have to worry about writing the labels on. And she does offer, I think, stickers as well, sticker sets of the DMCs if you just want to get the stickers for the current ones. But, so yeah, I was really happy. So that was my exciting purchase. It arrived more quickly than I thought too. So. And you said you had some other purchases.
Well, we both
we
purchased something that we're intending to start on our vacation.
We did. So I guess we can show.
Yeah, we both got patterns on Etsy. So the one that I purchased is Moonlight Cove by Pigeon Coop.
It's really a beautiful pattern that reminds us.
Do you want to show yours?
Oh, so I can do that. Mine is called Lighthouse, which I was partly inspired because I'm going to be seeing a lighthouse where we're going. But also because Stitching by the Shore also loves Lighthouse, and I always love her lighthouses on there. So this one is called Lighthouse by White Raven Patterns, which is on Etsy. So this is the pattern I got. It reminds me, the color scheme always reminds me of kind of. So, and they're all very
Can you tell where we're going?
Can you tell where we're going?
Can you tell what we're doing?
So, do we want to say, or do we want to let people guess?
I don't know. Guesses?
Anybody? I think it's probably pretty obvious, but you don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll see if they.
So I went ahead and I kitted mine all up. So I had a 28 count navy. It's just by Zweigart, and I think it's an even weave, which I think I'll be able to stitch where we're going. And then I just got 4 colors of DMC. So.
Yeah.
And I'm debating making it more of a rectangle, just carrying these motifs all the way over, because I think that'll be easier for me to finish than an oval. But I'll probably get started and then decide as I'm stitching. But yeah. Yeah,
mine is, I think I'm stitching mine ended up being 20 count. I was going to do a little bit bigger count, or smaller count.
But based on fabric we had.
Based on fabric we had, I didn't want to buy a lot of fabric.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep my purchases small until the Galleria later this year. So. So I'm doing 20 count white Zweigart 101. I'm just using the call forge. I think there's like 11 threads. I count colors to this one. Mm-hmm. So it's not a huge number. I am going to stitch around because round's not too bad to find frames and stuff for.
We'll find a way to finish that.
So I'm looking forward to it. I've never stitched a lighthouse, but it should be fun. And like I said, I'm going to get to see a lighthouse on this trip. So if you think you know where we're going, let us know. We do have one other purchase.
For the trip.
This is not really cross stitch related, but more for our game of board games.
Yeah, we got a game.
So we got a game that we're going to try out on here. This one is called Beacon Patrol. It's with a cooperative.
It's a cooperative game.
And
I would say it's a cozy cooperative game.
It's a cozy cooperative game.
There's no winning or losing.
Win or lose, and you're just comparing your score to target numbers.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. We won't obviously we can't review it because we haven't.
We tried it out.
But we haven't played it a whole lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So those were some of our purchases for this upcoming trip.
Yeah.
And please let us know if you think you know where it is down below. I'm curious to see where people think we're going. Okay, I think that was that all of our purchases, I think?
Yeah, that was all of my purchases.
Yeah. So I don't think we have any stitching kindness to report on.
No, we did have a few wonderful people who gave us shout outs.
We did. We had a couple people who wanted
we
to
missed
thank.
last time. We didn't see it until after we had posted our video that the Thread Gremlins had mentioned us in their video.
Yes.
Caroline, Elizabeth, and Amy
had mentioned us and gave us a really wonderful and kind
Elizabeth was working on a project that she had to rip a large portion out, and she said she spent her time ripping out with us.
Yes.
And that we were a calming presence.
I'm glad we were able to provide some calm, and it was a beautiful shout out.
They're so sweet.
Very touching.
Yes. And the other person who gave us a really lovely shout out was our friend Andrew at the Runner Stitcher.
Yes. I always love seeing Andrew's videos.
We love watching Andrew's. I think we've shouted him out before.
We have. His channel is just so much fun to watch, and I always love seeing the patterns
he's recently gotten into the fancy ladies.
He has gotten into the fancy ladies.
Which we enjoy watching.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that we want to stitch.
I don't.
But we really enjoy watching.
I enjoy watching
a
stitch. Yeah, I don't know if it's something I'll stitch, but I enjoy seeing them.
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
He's doing the Fruits of Plenty, which is stunning.
Yeah, the Fruits of Plenty is just a beautiful pattern.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have any endurance for that or not. It's huge.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we just really enjoy the projects he's working on, and his presence is really lovely.
Yeah, so thank you to you, both of you, both channels. Just beautiful, beautiful things, the kind of thing they said about us.
Yeah.
So, other than that, let's see the shout outs. I think that was it for that's plans.
We got plans?
We have plans?
Do you have plans? What are your plans?
What are my plans?
I mean, obviously the vacation start.
I obviously have the vacation start that I'm working on here, and I have my stitching kindness that it actually has a due date. So I have to get that done early enough to beat the due date and have it finished. So that'll be in my plans for this coming month. I do have these 3 SALs that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually mostly caught up with 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that might free me up to work on some of the actual summer plans I had as well.
Oh, yeah. You kind of had some ideas about things you might want to start.
Yeah. So I'll take a look at that. I know I have a book of mini modern art or mini art that I was considering doing some projects out of that. I'm debating. I know in the last video I mentioned the national parks set that I was wanting to do. Which was something I was considering.
You're kind of formulating ideas about how you want to...
Yes, because I'm thinking of using... Okay, so my thoughts are for that. I have some thoughts I've been thinking about.
Give us your thoughts.
So I really love... what was the Dutch Stitchers? Hanukkah. I loved her national monuments or parks or what it was called. It's like a...
Yeah, monuments, I guess.
Monuments, maybe? And so
it's like famous places around the world.
Famous places around the world. That's probably better accurate. And so that's what inspired the national park thing. But then I thought, well, I could actually use this because I had the idea of doing like a scratch off maps for the parks. But I was like, this would be a little bit more fun and interactive way of doing it. So I'm working on ideas for creating a border for the national parks thing, and then maybe putting like below them like a date of when you and I had actually been to the park together. And whenever we get one done, I might do a thin green border,
a different colored
border around just to indicate that it's done, and using that as a way of tracking the national parks we've been to. So I thought that was a fun idea. So I'm still formulating that, but I might get that pattern to start putting things together for it this coming month, especially since I finally might have room in my...
And we're going to a national park.
And we are going to a national park. That's something else. Another hint of where we were going. So just, that's in my plans. That might be starting this coming month. So if it does, that'll be something to show. But I think those are my bigger plans. I think there was a mill hill that I had also considered doing in the summer as well.
Summer one.
Like it was like a summer oak, I think, or something like that. So those are my plans, and also keeping up with this. I want to keep up with my SALs so that I don't get too far behind again.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your
plans? I'm definitely going to finish that one motif on Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. I mentioned I'm planning on bringing Azaad on the plane with me, and you're not planning. You don't really stitch on planes.
I usually read on the plane rather than stitch.
Yeah.
So.
I am going to have a start today.
Oh.
If I finish Let Love Rain tonight. It might be a start tomorrow. I was supposed to start it yesterday, but with Michael's brother's birthday.
Yeah, the strawberry. Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't able to get to it. So I'm joining Corinne at Corey Creates in Stitching Strawberry Fair, where we were going to start it yesterday. I'm sorry, Corinne. I didn't start it yesterday. But I'll start it this week. And we kind of just want to stitch it during the summer. We don't have a hashtag. This is just like a laid back stitch along that we're doing. Although I did see, I think Marjorie. Shoot, was it Marjorie or Cam?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
I want to say it was Marjorie from Marjorie Made is doing a strawberry stitch along, strawberry moon sale. So this fits for that. Also, the Camping Stitcher is doing it's like a stitch, something you've had kitted up for a long time. This also fits that because I've had this kitted up for almost a year. Yeah, so I've got my fabric and flosses all ready to go. So I'll start this week and have little strawberry summer fun.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm debating bringing on our trip is Whitaker, one of my snow friends, my 12 snow friends. Because, I mean, look at how much fill-in that is of not very many colors. So I think my plan might be later this week or next week to kind of do the bottom half of the cross to like outline everything and the colors so that I can just do fill-in on the plane. I feel like that's going to be another good traveling stitch or like late evening stitch piece. So this is something I'm considering. I'm still kind of debating if I'm going to do that or not, but it's an idea.
Yeah,
Whitaker might come.
It's a fun idea.
He might come along on our trip. I'm also going to get back into hashtag Motifa Week, which is a idea from Julie at Julie Stitches 16. I've been working on In a Forest Groove. This was my Motifa Week project in April. And I'm going to come back to this for my Motifa Week this month.
I'm sure you're looking forward to jumping around a little bit more.
I am. So this is where I'm at on this project. So I'll probably continue on this page that's over here and kind of carry the trees over this way in my little forest. I'm also wanting to pick up 324 by Works by ABC and kind of fill in more of my rainbow. This is where I am on that. So I think I decided I'm going to go this direction. So I'll probably pull out this next page and just do as much as I can with what we have. DMC. And then this was something I had mentioned that I was thinking about starting this past month and I didn't get to because I mostly only worked on Garden of Zig. But Flowers for Sylvia by D at D's 20 Stitches. This will probably be something I'll start this month.
Lots of plans.
Yep, those are my plans.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's all the plans we have.
That's all the plans I have.
Okay. Do we have any? Did you do any sewing? I don't think so.
I mended something. Oh no, I zigzagged a few projects so that they don't ravel all over when we travel.
Oh yeah, I noticed that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think
I have like a little stack. Michael wants me to make him like a travel size project bag. So
I need a travel project.
I have the fabric all ready to go. I also have a jacket that the pockets, like the lining on the pockets has been ripped since I purchased it. Like it wasn't made very well, the inside of the pocket. So I'm going to try to figure out some sort of way to seal that up so that it's not flying all over the place when I stick my hands in my pockets.
Yeah.
I also realized I didn't mention the quilt behind us is a quilt that I made last year. I followed Elizabeth Ann Stitch. She had done a stitch along, I think 2 or maybe 3 years ago. A quilt along. Did I say stitch along?
You said stitch along.
I meant quilt along.
It is a quilt along.
She kind of did like a series of videos on making this fat quarter hourglass remix quilt. So I followed along her videos and made this quilt using a bundle of fat quarter fabric, the stitch line from Lori Holt. So yeah.
So it turned out great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I thought it's time for summery quilts in here. And this has got a lot of vibrant colors, so it feels a little summery to me.
Yeah, it is definitely summer. Well, it's not officially summer.
It's hot.
At least for me, but it's close. It's getting hot. It's definitely getting hot. I don't like hot weather, so.
Yeah.
So that was about the quilt.
Yeah.
We almost forgot to mention.
Yeah.
But I guess that's it for our stitching portion.
Yes.
We're gonna get ready to move into our board game portion.
Yeah.
But if you're only here for stitching, thank you for joining us here.
We appreciate it so much. We know that there are so many floss tubes, and you have your time is precious. So and we're so grateful for the gift of you spending this time with us.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed what you saw today, and so if you're leaving, we'll hope you'll be returning to us and joining us again on our journey in stitching.
Yeah, we hope you have the best month that you can,
and enjoy the things you do with the people you love.
Yeah.
And if you're staying with us, just give us a moment to transition.
Yes.
We are back. We have gotten things kind of together for our board game section.
Had some water.
We had some
Please stay
water.
hydrated.
So over this month, we didn't play a lot of them more than 4 times, but we played a number of games, which I think you can kind of go through what we played.
Yes, so I have the last few videos been inserting a picture from Board Game Stats, which is an app that I use to track our board game plays. So the games that we played this month, you will be seeing on the screen. We played, I'm trying to remember who we played with. I know, so I had mentioned that my parents came to visit, and we played several games with my dad.
We did, yeah.
So while my dad was here, we played Earth, That's Pretty Clever, Cascadia, Wormspan, Kodama, 2 games of Spirit Island, and that was it when he was here.
Yeah.
Michael and I together played 1 game each of Galaxy Trucker, Hadrian's Wall, Twice as Clever. We played, and Beacon Patrol.
I have Beacon Patrol, yeah.
We played 2 games of the Guild of Merchant Explorers, and 3 games of Wormspan. We played one of those with my dad.
Did we? Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 we played on our own. We played 3 games of Trailblazers, 4 of Mythwind, and 4 of Cartographer's Heroes. We also played St. Louis Monopoly with Michael's mom on Mother's Day. That was the other thing we did on Mother's Day.
Yes, Monopoly.
We played Monopoly. That's her favorite game.
She has
a collection of
Monopolies, probably almost a dozen different types of Monopolies. Yeah, so, and we also played Familiar Tales. Did you have that in there?
I didn't put that in there because we didn't really finish a game yet.
Yeah, we finished maps.
We started a scenario and didn't exactly finish it. So I didn't put it in there.
But we did play it.
We did play it.
Because it's built of different scenarios. So.
Yeah.
So
the only 2 games we had played 4 times were Mythwind and Cartographers.
And
Mythwind we discussed in a previous video.
Not too long ago. So if you're interested in that
it's a cozy, cooperative game.
Yeah, there's no really winning or losing necessarily.
No.
It's really about the story and you're building this town, essentially.
Which when we had shared last time, we had played through 2 years of the game.
And
this time we played 1 year. As different characters.
With different characters. Because you can change characters between years, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's been fun. We'll probably review that at some point when we finish more of it.
Yeah.
But the other one we played 4 more games was Cartographers.
Yes, which is something we haven't talked about, but a game that we enjoy.
So I will include...
Yeah, we played Cartographer Heroes, but Cartographers is... Actually, I think if you put it this way, it looks like it's 1 picture.
It does. I didn't even know that. I just discovered that.
Isn't that fun?
But
Cartographer Heroes is a separate standalone game, but you can kind of combine elements of it with Cartographers.
Which we did. So
right.
This is the base game.
The gameplay is exactly the same.
So
the things that we'll be talking and showing about are specific to Heroes, but they apply to the regular game of Cartographers as well.
So the game is a draw, right?
It's
right in
flip and right.
Flip and right
is what I would call it.
That's what you call it.
I think
yeah.
I would call it a flip and right game.
So the idea is you have these maps in the game. You're a cartographer for the king, so you're trying to map the area for the king, basically. Mm-hmm. And
the king wants certain things.
He wants certain things, and you have. So what you're doing is you're looking at different types of terrain. Mm-hmm. So as you flip cards, there'll be different one or 2 different types of terrain, and there'll be a shape you have to draw. And there's like a grid that you draw on, and there's a few places that have mountains on there. Mm-hmm. But basically, you're trying to fit these shapes.
So you're taking that shape and putting it on.
And putting it on there with the type of terrain. Either sometimes you have a choice, or sometimes it tells you what type of terrain. Mm-hmm. And over the course of a game, there's 4 different seasons. Basically.
And in each season, you score 2 different things.
And that changes every season. Every season you go through,
Mm-hmm.
there's an A, B, C, and D of scoring cards. Mm-hmm. And so the first season is 2 A and B, and then B and C, and then so every time you go through a season, you're trying for different things. Mm-hmm. And then there's also in the expansion part of it, the heroes part.
Yes.
There's additional types of terrain, which one is a hero.
Yes.
Which has an attack pattern essentially, because the other part of that is monsters that will appear.
Which are in cartographers.
And they're in cartographers, so. Monsters,
you pass your paper to the other
person,
to your left or your right.
Left or right.
And they draw a monster on your map, which takes up space on your map.
It takes the space.
And it will give you negative points.
If you have empty spaces around the monsters, there's negative points.
Yeah.
And so the heroes can be used to kill those monsters.
Right.
In addition to, of course, trying to surround them to get them
Yeah.
out. So it's a fun dynamic that it doesn't change the game a whole lot, but it's a fun little dynamic that adds to the game. Definitely worth getting the expansion. And so you play through this 4 different rounds, and you're trying to do different things. Like some cards will want you to not have certain types of terrain next to each other. Some will want certain configurations of them or a certain number of empty spaces around them. They want to be by a certain thing. So you're looking at your goals and trying to do what they say to get the most points. And so it is competitive. It's not cooperative. And at the end of 4 seasons, whoever has the most points essentially wins. Each season, though, there's a different number of cards that make up. So the cards you draw for the patterns have a number at the top.
You draw a different number of cards for each season.
Well, you draw a different number of cards for each season. Each one has like a 0, 1, or 2 at the top, and once you've gone equal to or higher based on that for that season calls for, then that season ends. So it can vary sometimes. And the rune spaces, there are rune spaces on there that can only be drawn on when you draw a rune card, and that goes with whatever the next terrain is after that. So it's a fun game. We haven't played it in a while.
It had been a while.
It had been last year.
Yeah.
So it had been a little. Partly because we got so many different new games over the course of a year.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. But it was an early one we got when we were between houses.
Yeah. So you'll see in the pictures that we use colored pencils. We have a little set of colored pencils that we just keep in this game all the time.
Yeah.
So that when we play, it's kind of easier to see with colored pencils, but you don't have to use colored pencils.
You don't have to, but it makes the terrain easier to see when you're drawing on there.
Yeah.
What's by each other.
Yeah.
So it is. That was a tip you picked up from somebody.
I think someone on Instagram that I had seen had done that, and I was like, "That's a great idea."
Yeah, and we bought a little miniature pencil because this game travels really well.
Yes.
So that's also one of the reasons.
It's a game that we'll sometimes bring. There are paper pads, but I'm sure someone probably has made like dry erase
at some point somewhere.
But we'll just grab a few pads, grab the little bundle of colored pencils, and we can bring it on a trip that we're taking by ourselves.
It is one of the games.
It's also a game you can play with a lot of people.
It is because
basically you just need
the pads.
I don't know what it says on the box, but I feel like you can play with a bajillion.
I don't think it doesn't have it on.
Yeah.
You can play with a bajillion people, really. I mean, as long as you have enough pads and pencils for people to draw with, you can draw with almost any number of people. Because the number of people doesn't affect how the game plays. You do everything simultaneously.
Yes.
So it's not like you wait for people to have a turn and then get your turn and go around.
Yeah.
So it's a super fun game. Definitely, it's very easy to pick up, very easy to understand. So it should be easy to learn and teach people. So I guess I can kind of segue into one of the other things we wanted to talk a little bit about with games.
Yeah, so since this was really the only game we had to talk about, and it's a smaller game, lighter game, we thought we'd kind of talk about our decision making in what we bring on trips when we take vacations.
Yeah, because I mean, we have a trip coming up, and we just went through this process of trying to think, what kind of the stuff we want to bring.
That was part of the reason our friends came over, is we were kind of talking about,
considerations.
We're making sure we're not all bringing the same games.
And what they had questions for us. What kind of games how do you decide what to bring, what types of games to bring?
Right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we would love to hear your thoughts on how you go through that process.
If you're a person who games and you go on trips, what do you think about when you bring, what is your top thought?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously one of the top considerations, especially if you're traveling by plane or something, is the size of the game.
Yes.
Very large, complex games like Spirit Island, for instance. One of my favorites, but it does not travel well.
No.
You can really travel. I mean, unless you're just going, on a very small day drive trip somewhere. Right. But it doesn't travel. But so typically smaller games that have less components to kind of pack.
So there's sort of different categories of games that I thought of that were maybe you'll see this in our next video. There's games that we played. Yeah. But definitely a deck of cards. This is the easiest thing to bring.
Yeah, and I think most people would think of that. Even people who don't game as much.
It's also versatile. There's I could play solitaire. Or we could play a game altogether.
And there's all different kinds of games you can play.
There's all different kinds of games. So, you can do a lot with a deck of cards. We also have a game called 5 Crowns, which usually travels with us. Again, it's a card game.
And card games tend to travel really well.
And then the other card game that we usually bring with us on trips is Bonanza.
This is an older game. You may or may not have heard of it, but you're basically a bean farmer. You're planting beans in fields and harvesting beans for points.
Yeah. And it's another deck of cards kind of a game.
So those are decks of cards games.
Another thing that we kind of think about, or that we thought about this time, instead of bringing games that have paper pads, is games that have
Reusable
dry
pads.
erase,
Dry erase.
or reusable things. So we are contemplating bringing Railroad Ink, which is a game which has dry erase pads and dice.
So not a lot of components, but
no,
it's easy to pack because you don't need a lot of pads.
yes,
this one plays with 4 people, I think, right?
yes, 4. Another one which we've talked about before is Rolling Realms, which everything is dry erase in this game.
And this is a roll and write.
Yes, it's kind of like deck of cards dry erase.
Deck of cards dry erase is a good way.
Yeah.
So that's all you need. You have the stack of cards you play with, and you have the thing you draw on.
Yeah, so it's something we can play multiple times without having to bring a lot of things along. And then another game that we're thinking about bringing is Trailblazers.
This one is
because although it came in this lovely box,
it does have a nice travel case.
It came with this really cool travel case.
Yeah.
So we can fit the whole game in here, and it can come with us.
Yeah. So that one, I don't know.
Also,
there's a lot
this
of games
game
that have that,
was like designed by outdoorsy people. And the cards can get wet. Yeah.
So that's exciting.
That's pretty cool.
So those are some of our considerations.
Yeah. So things we think about are small.
Yeah, and some games have designed ones that travel like this. This case travels really well. We probably won't put it in the case.
Yeah.
Bonanza's tried to do better about travel. Like the original board box was huge.
It was larger.
So they've gotten it smaller, and I think some companies consider that for their games. So that's something to think about. Games that are designed to have smaller boxes to travel better. You don't always have to have the box but if it's well designed and small, you could. So. So those are some of our what are other things we consider? Number of people possibly if you're traveling with people. Yeah, might be a consideration.
Yeah.
For 2 people, if it was just the 2 of us, we might travel.
We have some 2-player games.
We have some 2-player games that are small. That we might. We didn't choose them for this trip because we're traveling with our friends. So that is a consideration. And we did buy that one new game that we already showed earlier. So, yeah. Any other things?
I don't think so. Those are kind of things that we think about.
You might think about the types of games the people you're traveling with and you like to play, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you know that a certain kind of game they don't enjoy, you might, even though you might yourself bring it sometimes, you might not bring that. So
right. Our friends are highly competitive.
They are very highly competitive.
So we're trying to pick games that
are less competitive.
That don't have too much haha.
I got you.
Interaction.
Yeah. Because
there would be large opportunities for that if we did.
And they made sure to tell us that. So we already kind of
which we already know. We've played games with them before.
But they were like, we make sure we knew. So that is a consideration.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that was it for our board game section.
Yeah.
If you're stayed with us this long, we're grateful you did, and hopefully we gave you some good tips and ideas to think about. We would love to hear about your gaming hobbies and any suggestions you have for things we might want to try. We hope you have a good June. Going forward, doing the things you love with the people you love.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We wish you all the best.
And
we love you.
We love you, and we'll see you in about a month.
Yeah.
Good.
Bye.